Welcome those in attendance today to the Board of Public Works and Safety meeting for August 11th, 2022, as well as those who may be watching online or who may have business online. Roll call, please.
Mr. Margraf.
Here.
Mr. Long. Mr. Perez.
Here.
Any conflict of interest statements, John?
No, sir.
No. Approval of the minutes of the meeting of August 4th, 2022. I will recommend that we defer the reading of those minutes.
I concur.
Okay, bid openings, there are none. Matters from department heads and or the representatives. Mr. Button has something today.
Yes, sir. Good morning to the board. Unfortunately, I did not get an action in front of the board, so I need some special consideration today. The city has prepared to go out for public bid for a new garage at the police department. So if you know the area, right, it's between headquarters and 18th Street. There's an existing garage there. There's a new planned garage to go north of that to store additional equipment and supplies. The architect, Tom Kuhn from CSK Architects, is present. And so what we're asking the board today to do is to approve, today we'd like you to approve our request to advertise that project. That's today. And then we would run advertisements on August the 18th. The second advertisement would be August the 25th.
Okay.
And the bid opening would be September 8th. So if I could ask the board to approve our request to advertise for public bid, the new police garage with the advertising dates of August 18th and August 25th with a bid opening of September 8th.
And again, we're just seeking bids, so no harm done, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's not like we're, setting up, trying to do a public meeting without notification.
Understood.
Or anything. So.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I'll recommend that we seek bids on August 18th and August 25th.
Yes, sir.
Correct?
That would be the advertising dates.
The advertising dates for bids, and then we'll have the opening of those bids on September 8th.
September 8th, yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
I concur.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other department head have any business before us this morning? Okay. Correspondence. Item A, correspondence received from Chief of Police William Short submitting the resignation of probationary officer Trayvon McCullough effective the closing date of August 1, 2022, submitted for approval. I recommend that we approve the police chief's request.
I concur.
Item B, correspondence received from Corellis Roofing requesting permission to close the sidewalk at 4828 Calumet Avenue for a project from August 12, 2022 through October 31st, 2022. Mr. Button.
This has been reviewed by the engineering department, and we asked for your permission. They provided a detour, a pedestrian detour for that project.
And again, just the sidewalk.
Just the sidewalk, yes, sir.
Okay. I'll recommend that we approve Corellis' request.
I concur.
Item C, correspondence received requesting no right turn when children are present sign on 169th Street at Arizona Street submitted via C-Click Fix.
Sir, good morning. I did take a look at the intersection, and I would support the residents' request. We've done this on a couple of other locations, particularly at Grand at 169th. So if you're northbound on Arizona, there's a sign now that says no right turn.
Okay.
On red. And so we would add a placard below that that says when children are present. We did that at Grand because there is capacity to turn, in this case, from Arizona onto right turn onto 169th because there's two lanes. It wouldn't interfere with any other movements that are happening in that location. So we'd support the residents' request.
All right.
Sir?
Is it no right, so is it going to be no right turn on red or no right turn when children are present or both? Because it could be confusing on the sign.
So generally, it's no right turn on red, right? Because that's how it's posted. And so below that, it will say when children are present. So you're saying, okay, we'll sort that out.
Yeah, I just want to make sure nobody turns on red when children are not present, and somehow that's okay.
Okay, yeah, we'll be consistent with the other.
I mean, there's other signage like that around the city, I know, because I've seen it.
Yeah, 129, or 119th and Calumet.
Okay.
So we'll make a recommendation on what the sign should say and send that to Public Works.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. All right, I will recommend to approve the residents' request, included with the recommendation from the city engineer going to Public Works.
I concur.
Item D, correspondence received from resident Rebecca Clay, 3035 163rd Place, requesting speed bumps at various locations in her area due to vehicles disregarding stop signs.
So I have a copy, thanks to to Linda from the law department. I haven't gotten through all the way through it because I just started looking at it this morning. Generally, this is a police enforcement action. I would ask that you refer the complaint to the police department. It's been the city's policy to not install speed bumps on local streets, and so I'll look at this further. But I don't believe this would be the case here. That people are running stop signs, so they're violating the law, and speed bumps may or may not even control that situation.
Yeah, I just would add that it's been city's policy to not install speed bumps for various reasons, some of which I know both of you are aware of, because it inhibits public safety vehicles, both police and fire, in an emergency from gaining access to that street as quickly as possible. It also impacts us during winter periods with the vehicles at Public Works with snowplows. So city's policy is generally no speed bumps. We'll look at it. However, I would also agree with Dean that the need for them, probably it's an enforcement action for police. And we, unfortunately, we hear this, especially in the summer, where people run stop signs. And I think, folks think it may be just in their area, but it's everywhere. And so, we can hopefully see some police activity there, and that'll help. But, I'm afraid that it's going to be one of these ongoing issues. So.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll recommend that we take the residents' email and we will forward it to the police department for their review, and also request some additional enforcement in that neighborhood.
I concur.
Item E, correspondence received requesting a rental registration hearing. I recommend that we set this over to August 25th, 2022.
I concur.
Matters from board members? John?
No, sir.
Okay. New business. Item A, agreement to purchase real estate with Northern Indiana Public Service Company regarding property located at 402 165th Street. Mr. Smith.
Yes, this is a vacant lot very close to where the Lyman Avenue Bridge is, near where the new Westlake's coming through. It's just to the east. They put a pole there. They owed us the purchase agreement for some time. I'm happy to report that Mr. Button was able to get that completed. So if it's signed by NIPSCO, we would request its signature.
It is.
Okay, we'd request you to sign it, and then I'd request Linda to get a closing set on this. So.
Okay. I'll recommend approval of the agreement to purchase real estate and forward to Linda in the Law Department.
I concur.
Okay. Item B, right-of-way permits submitted for approval from the engineering department.
Good morning.
Morning, Mr.
There are
Parrish.
4 permits. 2 basically are for residential properties, sewer, water, Buffalo Box. Another one being in Chicago and Sheffield, they have about a 40-foot bore to be done off to the west of Sheffield. And also Holman Avenue, the start date is being pushed back, or was pushed back,
Holman Avenue,
by the South Shore tracks.
Oh, okay.
They're doing utility work
Okay.
relocation. So I recommend approval.
okay.
Thank you.
And just for my own knowledge, how long is Highland Street to be closed?
Approximately.
Okay. All right, I got stuck by it again today. I wasn't thinking, I just wanted to know.
So for help, right, we have
Yes.
we have 3 streets along the South Shore line or the West Lake line that's been closed, right? 173rd, which is a very difficult closure because there's really no other access until you get to 65th.
Right.
Right, 173rd, Kenwood and Highland are now currently closed for the preparation of the rails going in.
Okay,
Similar to what we did at Waltham and Detroit
Right.
over the last several weeks.
okay.
Thank you.
I will recommend to approve the right-of-way permit submitted from the engineering department.
I concur.
Item C, disposal authorization submitted for approval from Hammond Police Department. See if there's any notes stuck in here. Okay, they've all been destroyed. So I will approve the disposal authorization submitted for approval from the Hammond Police Department.
I concur.
Okay. Item D, garage sale permit submitted for approval. Okay, I would recommend that we approve the garage sale permit submitted today.
I concur.
Okay, page 2. Old business, item A, status, stop sign Holman at Hewen. Correspondence received from city engineer Dean Button recommending creating bump outs with pavement markings and lane delineators until such time as improved sidewalks and drainage for the intersection can be constructed. Mr. Button.
So this wasn't, didn't print this out right, so I prepared a report. I'll give the board and the attorney, it's the same report that was provided earlier. So it's no change from the report previously provided. The council had suggested that the corrective action title on the tabular sheet, the second sheet, be maybe modified. So I did a review of the accidents, the crash reports provided by the police department a couple of weeks ago, and determined that none of the crashes occurred at a time when children would have been present attending school. I think that is a reflection on the Hammond Police Department and the crossing guards at that location, that they make that intersection highly visible and traffic, naturally or generally slows down when a crossing guard is present. So kudos to the police department. We looked at the different types of problems that occurred, the crashes that occurred. We focused on the failure to yield right-of-way. Those generally occurred with traffic traveling east and westbound on Hewen. They ignored or otherwise disregarded the stop sign there, and so crashes occurred at all hours of the day and night. On 3 particular occasions, it was a westbound car on Hewen causing an accident to a northbound vehicle. And to me, that's a sight distance problem, or potentially could have been a sight distance problem. Couldn't really tell based upon the crash report itself. There was no obviously photos, or there wasn't a depiction on exactly what was in the intersection at the time. But if someone parks on the east curb line, so facing northbound,
right,
it's difficult to see around that car. And so the suggestion would be to make sure that was striped as a no parking area for a proper distance. 20 to 40 feet is generally what's suggested. And then we're sort of taking an initiative to maybe creating I call them bump outs, right? So they're shortened crosswalks where the sidewalks sort of encroach more into the parking lane area of the roadway, so the crosswalk is shortened. We can do that for an interim period with pavement markings and these lane delineators, these posts that sort of fall over if they get hit. In the short term, in the long term, we would do an intersection reconstruction to provide proper concrete sidewalks. So that would be my recommendation at this stage. We're happy to push that project forward if the board and the administration would like us to, and I'd take any questions that the board might have.
And I presume Councilman Kowinski's been in the loop the entire time?
He was copied on this correspondence, yes.
Yeah, just a quick update. A couple things. One, Law Department, and I know that the Chief of Staff and I have discussed this with the city engineer, that we strongly hope that there can be a removal of that middle lane to improve sight lines, as Dean indicated. Also, Councilman Kowinski on Monday, and the City Council passed an ordinance to put a stop sign at 142nd and Hammond, so that's being, I think, probably dealt with. I don't think it changes Dean's recommendation or what we want to do between Gosselin and 140th, but that's just the update from Law Department.
It doesn't change my recommendation. Yeah. I think it's still a safer condition, and I'm glad the council mentioned that the restriping of Hammond Avenue is something that we've been intending on working on. So that will help with sight distance and bike lanes that aren't currently shown that need to be put in the roadway. So
sure. Okay.
my recommendation remains. Thank you.
Very good. And I will recommend to approve the city engineer's request in regards to this intersection and its improvements for public safety.
Thank you. Can we also note, I guess just for our record up at Law Department, that the request for the stop sign at Hammond and Hewen has been denied. The request for the stop sign at Hammond and Hewen was denied.
Yeah, I thought we did that.
Did we last week? Did we actually deny it?
I thought we
deferred it.
Okay, well, let me add to my recommendation then that, or for the record, that the stop sign requested by the councilman at that intersection was denied by this board.
I concur.
Thank you. Status, item B, status, 7944 Bertram.
This was brought to my attention by Mr. Kearney yesterday. This is a property that the board has entered a demolition order for the garage. And so we have a new owner, I believe he's here. So Owner and contractor, all right, even better. This was a hoarding situation, according to Mr. Kearney. The property appears to be in pretty good shape. I'll share with the board the photos that we had before the board recently, so you can take a look at it. It's my understanding that the new owner does want a rehab agreement, so we're going to try to do a quick inspection and get moving on it, but let me show you the photo.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, you come on up, introduce yourself.
Good morning, I'm Robert Carlson. I'm with Regent Construction. Bill Kincaid is the owner of the property. We had purchased the property back in June. I investigated everything through Bill Luder, and it wasn't on the demo list at that time. We actually closed on this on the 17th of June, and towards the end of June, they had issued an order for a demo order, probably for the garage. The garage does need some repair. I'm asking if we can rescind that order and just use a regular process. I've submitted an application for a permit. We just want to proceed with this.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, the order's on the garage, it's in pretty bad shape. I don't have any problem with, and I missed your name, I'm sorry.
Robert Carlson.
Mr. Carlson, I don't have any problem with him getting permits for the home. We probably could waive the inspection fee because it's just a garage. Get Mr. Luder out there to get some quick recommendations and get a rehab agreement for the garage, unless you want to knock it down, but I don't know if you plan on rehabbing.
No,
Okay.
we plan on rehabbing.
Okay, so, I mean, he can get permit, I mean, unless Mr. Kearney objects, I think he can get permits for the house. Just don't do any work on the garage till we get the inspection. Yeah, because we don't like to rescind those because, I mean, I'm sure you're ready to roll on it, and I trust you, but you can imagine we've had some folks come up here and say, we're going to work on it, and then we don't see them, so.
Mr. Kearney.
Yeah, he said he knows you, so I know you're going to do a good job, so. I guess it's more of a status for the board.
Okay.
And allow this gentleman to come before you and introduce himself to you. Mr. Kearney's indicated he's a good contractor, which is great. We'll get a quick inspection on the garage and get a rehab agreement before then. We'll request the board waive the fee for the inspection, and that'd be the only action we'd ask for the board today.
What would the status be? How many days?
90?
90 days,
Yeah.
we've done at that point.
We'll probably have a rehab agreement before then, but we can always say, we could set it for status for 90. And then if everything goes well, we'll rescind it then.
So we can issue a permit today.
For the house, I mean, I don't know today, that's up to Mr. Kearney's office, but.
So November 3rd, November 10th? Doesn't matter, 3rd?
Yeah.
Okay, status on November 3rd, and also to waive the fees for the inspection fees?
Yep. I'll grab that back.
Okay, I will recommend that we set this property over for status till November the 3rd, 2022, also waiving the inspection fees for the new owner.
I concur.
Okay. Let's see here. Item C, status, Bank Calumet Building, 120-day status on temporary signage.
I think they still have the sign up there, construction, or rehab, I should say, yeah, construction on that property is imminent, I believe, or close to being imminent. We're just working through a couple final matters. I'd request that the signage be renewed, temporary signage be renewed by the board, and we'll status it for 4 months.
4?
Yeah, 120 days.
Council, let's see, 90 days was November 3rd to December 8th.
Yep.
All right. Okay, we will, I'll recommend for the Bank Calumet Building to extend the temporary status of the sign that's on the building for 120 days, which takes us to December the 12th of 2022.
concur.
Number 11, rental registration hearings. This is generally one of the crepuscular times of my meeting. 7105 Parish Avenue. Oh,
So for 7105 Parish and then 7550 Columbia, it's the same owner of these properties.
okay.
Listed under different LLCs. They are both 5-unit rental structures, therefore they would be and qualify for the categorization of a rental unit community and only be subject to a $5 rental registration fee. However, the owner purchased 7105 Parish September 16th of 21 and was late registering for 2022. And then for Columbia, owner as of November 19th of 20, same thing, we're late for 2022 rental registration.
And you've owned the building, sir, for how long?
The one,
September 21 was Parish.
About a year for that one.
about a year, and the other one
Less for the other one?
was 2 years. We made the payment for the registrations for the Columbia property on time last year. Honestly, this year, it slipped through the cracks on us. We weren't trying to evade payment. Both myself and my partner, who I own the properties with, have moved. In his instance, he moved out of state, and it's something that got lost in the shuffle.
This is Parish, the Parish property you're referring to now, right?
Well, both of them.
Both.
It'd be very.
You guys own any other proproperties here?
No,
in the
just
city?
those two.
These are the first two?
We're interested in owning more, but not at this time.
Just for the record, rental registration takes place from January 1st to April 15th of every year. You can register the properties at any time in that time span. Generally, when you come before the board, we offer you that courtesy one time. There's no guarantees if this happens again next year, what the outcome might be.
Understood. We will
Anything
not
further,
forget
Nick?
again.
Okay, my recommendation is, you want to do one at a time, or do them both together?
That's fine, yeah, you can do both.
Okay, for 7105 Parish Avenue and 7550 Columbia Avenue, we're going to waive the late fees.
Thank you.
You do need to register, obviously, for 21 as well as 22 for Parish and just 22 for Columbia. Is that correct, Nick?
Now, Parish was registered by the previous owner for 2021.
Okay, so both of them are just 2022.
Just 2022.
Okay,
Yep,
okay.
for each property.
Well, let me say it again then. We're going to recommend to waive the late fees for both properties, all the units, and for 2022 on both of those, but you can register the units after the meeting today to get the record clean going forward.
And they would only be subject to a single $5 charge, as it's recognized as a rental unit community.
Oh, wow.
So once
Did not know that.
new legislative bill passed stating that anything with 5 or more units is subject with adjacent buildings.
Sure.
Is subject to a single $5 rental
Wow.
restriction. Yeah.
Good for you.
I didn't know that either.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. That's my recommendation, Johnny.
I concur.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you, sir. Wow.
Yeah.
946 Murray. Yes, please.
Yes.
So, Mr. Roy is the owner of the property as of June 11th of 21. I believe we are here for 2021 as there was an affidavit submitted and accepted for 2022. However, there still is a homestead tax deduction being claimed on the property, so we would request that Mr. Royal complete the form to effectively remove the homestead tax deduction, as it's a rental income property which does not qualify for such.
So just to be clear, so we have an affidavit for this year.
Correct.
We're here for last year.
Correct, for 21, since she
Okay.
purchased the property in June of 21, there would still be months of. or
Did you have tenants at that point?
Can I show you an email? I got a letter or an email from, I'm
investigation or something put through from a Brandy Cross. She said that, there's no deductions on 946 Hammond, and this can be a rental property.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, any property can be occupied
Oh, no.
and leased as a rental. We just need to ensure that homestead tax deductions are only applied to an individual's primary residence. So the record that I printed as of yesterday still shows a $29,520 homestead tax deduction that's applied to the property address. And I know they're, you know, taxable, then payable the year after. So just to ensure that we have the proper documentation filed, we want to make sure if she didn't file it when she purchased the property, that we have an opportunity here to take care of it and submit the documentation that's needed to ensure that it gets removed.
Does that make sense, ma'am?
Yes and no, because in the email it says, so when I purchased the home in June, it requalifies her to receive the rollover year for her purchase of 946. So it was my understanding that the tax,
That might have been the year prior that they're referring to.
well,
Right, they're prorated.
Right.
Right, so all this form does is ensure that moving forward.
Right.
Since the property has been designated and will be occupied as a rental, that the homestead tax deduction is removed, which is, you know, state law.
Yes.
So
I mean, that's,
it's, yeah.
yeah, I have no intention of
Okay.
living in the property.
no, okay.
Yeah,
No, if the paperwork's already filed, filling this out and submitting it, there's no harm, no foul.
Sure.
It's just to make sure that, for sure, everything's covered so that they can't come back and then hit you with a huge bill
okay.
later.
Okay, so my recommendation is going to be to waive the late fee for 21, right? Also, you will need to take care of the homestead exemption on the property, which means it's going to be eliminated because it's a rental property.
Right.
Through the paperwork that Nick has.
Okay.
Okay?
So, I guess like the issue, because the tenant that's living there now, I guess she's receiving some type of government assistance.
Okay.
And they didn't give her the assistance because they said the property wasn't registered as a rental.
Well, this will take care of that.
Okay,
This should take care of that then.
If the house is currently occupied by a tenant,
Right.
yeah, there was an affidavit submitted for 2022 requesting an exemption from having to register, stating that the property was under renovation, not being occupied as a rental. So if that's the case where you have finished your, you know, renovation or cleaning up or whatever, preparing it for a tenant, then we would request that 2022 be included in the finding and decision today to ensure that both 21 and 22 are covered in the, for rental registration. Technically, she has 30 days from the
Sure.
date a lease is signed to register the property, but since we're here.
And so by signing the affidavit, this woman or the tenant that's living there now, she should be afforded the assistance she needs because it's a rental property, she's not the owner.
Yeah, and we'll be able to give her, she'll be able to get a receipt today showing that the
Okay.
property is registered.
Is that understood? All right, very good. Okay, I will change my recommendation again to include the year 2022 as well, waiving the late fee for 21 and 22, along with having the affidavit signed for the homestead tax exemption.
Thank you.
All right,
I concur.
all right, thank you. All right, thank you. Nick?
You're very welcome, thank you.
Okay, item 12, meeting open to the public. Anyone here in the public? Sir? Just state your name for the record if you would, please.
Alan Rutledge.
Please.
I got a notice to appear here for a demolition order on a property.
Oh,
Just a little background for the property address on 177th. How you doing, Mr. Rutledge? The property, it has two structures adjacent to one another. Mr. Rutledge lived in one and occupied it. His mother lived in the other. There's a small electrical fire in the rear of the home there. It became boarded up, and his mother had passed, and so it kind of just sat vacant for a little bit.
okay.
Subsequently, Mr. Rutledge did have to take care of some tax issues with the property, was able to do so, and then came in to apply for a permit to avoid it moving forward on demolition. So last October, we actually went through the process to get plans approved to convert that structure to an accessory structure to his home, like literally 20 feet away.
Combining a lot.
Correct, he went to Lake County, combined both parcels, so that this structure could go from being a residential home to an accessory structure to his home. And the plans were approved by the building commissioner, Bob Vale. So at this point, we really just need to either have Bill Luter or myself go inspect to see the status of the permit that was issued. And then I personally, it would be my recommendation that this would need to be on the demo list, which is something I thought we addressed last year, but Mr. Rutledge got the notice, and so
Got up here.
here to take care of that today.
I do have pictures.
Yeah, no problem.
Anything, Mr. Smith, on this? Kelly, anything?
No, it's just, the permits were pulled under his house address, not the address that the structure is actually on. Now they're in my parcels.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So going forward, Nick, what do you just want a status? Does he need to come back?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think it said for next week, the 18th, but again, I don't have any problem dealing with it today, that he's here. He's a neighboring homeowner, and I guess he combined the parcels. I mean, you're already doing the work?
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
a permit issue.
yeah, I got the permit was granted October 25th, and I worked for 2 months till it got cold December, and I got most of the windows and the doors in. I have a bunch of pictures that I took. Clean property. My neighbor's here. He can attest to that.
I think that, I mean, at the end of the day, right, on parcel, there's a fire, I think, is that what happened?
Yeah, there's just
Yeah, I had electrical
So-
fire in the
Next
second
door.
house that I wasn't living in.
Right. You know, it really, what we really like to do is just kind of keep tabs on it. It sounds like the building department's doing that, through Mr. Vale, and with code, with Nick. I mean, I don't have a problem just deferring the hearing and maybe set it for a status. That works.
My plan is,
How long do you think you need, Mr. Rutledge?
well, my plan overall was, since I combined the properties, I'm 60, maybe 67 next month, to get a reverse mortgage on both properties. And with property values, what they are, once I get that building pretty much wrapped up and good, then I can get my appraisal, get the mortgage, and then for anything I need to move forward with, electrical and plumbing, contractor, you know, permits and
Yeah,
stuff
part
like
of
that.
I can't really give you legal advice, but I
No,
really
I'm just
tell
saying
you
that-
you be careful about reverse mortgages, that's all I'm saying that. Those are, you may not want, I mean, it's your call, it's your
Right.
house, but
I
just be
haven't
very careful
heard
about
everything
that.
about them, but yeah.
Yeah.
Part of the agreement was that the building in question is not being repaired to be occupied as a residence again.
I've
So-
had it for 40 years, and I've
Yeah, that's-
bought my mother's house back in '98, moved in and took care of her till she died in 2017. And I've had both properties and just used them as one property.
So that was part of the agreement, was like, it's basically just becoming an accessory structure or workshop for
Right,
his
right.
existing home, which is partly why
There's only-
there's some we allowed, we're allowing him to do the plans he submitted were sufficient with the building commissioner, so it's just something that we didn't, keep an eye on. So if the board would like, we can, if you'd like to keep the status date for next week, between now and then, either myself or Bill
Okay.
Luter can visit the property to get updated photos, provide to the board and Kevin Smith to ensure the conditions and progress is moving forward as planned.
So we're gonna ask him to come back next week?
I don't think we need to do that.
No.
I don't think we- Nick, I think if he's working on it, and
Yeah.
you guys are monitoring it.
Okay,
Let's just set it for a little bit further down the road.
That's fine.
then next week. Set it further down the road than next week.
Right. I figured if it's gonna be on the agenda next week, then we just bump it out. and
Okay,
provide the photos
we'll
to
do that,
support
okay. We know it's on the agenda for next week?
That's what Kevin.
Yeah, we'll make sure to know. I'd
Okay.
like to keep it on the agenda next week.
All right.
But we'll just, you don't need to show Mr. Rutledge. We'll just
Got it.
show that it was dealt with last week.
Okay, fair enough. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so for the record, this is going to be on the agenda for next week. The status will be August 18th.
I concur.
Okay. Councilman Torres, good morning.
Good morning.
Please.
Oh, okay, the 4700 block of Sheffield, where the north end where it intersects with Chicago Avenue, there's a stop sign there which residents report that is often ignored. A few feet to the east is the runabout, and that's where Chicago connects with Sheffield. It's like a curve. And I was there and I saw cars ignoring it, and I think they think it's part of of that runabout. So if they don't see any cars coming, they just go right through it. So.
Dean, would that stop sign be part of the roundabout? I thought usually you just got a yield sign, right? Or
Sir, this is, Sheffield now curves into Chicago. This is northbound Sheffield as it ties back into that knuckle,
Yeah.
right? There's a stop sign there.
Okay.
I suspect because we had barricades up on Chicago going east from that intersection, that cars were just moving through there, now that those barricades are down, the motoring public has become familiar with just rolling through that stop sign. So we could temporarily put up a second stop sign, right? Stacking stop signs to sort of improve the visibility of that location. But Councilman's right. The folks have got into a habit of disregarding that stop sign because Chicago's been closed. Now, when Chicago reopens,
Right.
by the end of the week or Saturday, whichever we can accommodate, then there'll be more traffic coming through. It'll be more visible. But I think a good thing to do is I'll have our either the engineer the contractor put up a second stop sign temporarily, or I'll see if I can get some help from our Public Works Department.
Okay.
But it's a great idea. Thank you, Councilman.
Yeah, in addition, on that same block, just south, the construction company left some no parking signs in front of residents. They're still there, nobody's working. I mean, they would like to get their parking back. So
We can accommodate that too, sir, yes.
Yeah, remove those parking signs.
Yep,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else from the public care to speak? Okay, I will recommend to adjourn this meeting. Those that have rental registration hearings will get your paperwork to you in a few seconds.
I concur.
Thank you.